Okay, welcome to Professor St. Clair's history classes. I've got them up on the board here. History 131, section Y05, Y06, and Y15. That's U.S. history from 1865. And HIS 117, sections Y02 and Y06. That's world history from 1500. Okay. The Y indicates that they're online courses. I'm new to online courses. I imagine some of you are as well. And I'm doing my best. There are a lot of features of Blackboard, the learning management system we have here, that I don't feel confident using yet. But yet it means I might get into them. They have a thing that's like Zoom or like Google Classroom, and they have some other things that will allow me to maybe do video presentations on my laptop with in-screen, sharing the screen and stuff like that, which would be good. But in this video, I just want to welcome you to Broome Community College, if you've never been here before, or SUNY Broome as we now call it. If you've been here before, welcome back. I would like to talk a little bit about just a few things that might get you in the mood for a history class, all right? There won't be long lectures. There won't be any. Well, today's Monday. That would have been a 50-minute lecture. And the 117 classes would have had 2 hour and 15-minute lectures. When I do video lectures, they're going to be shorter than that, I suspect, which makes the reading more important. But anyway, I'm Paul St. Clair. There's a section, your instructor, in the on Blackboard, and explains that I came up here in 1989 to do graduate school. I'm from Brooklyn originally. Maybe you can tell, maybe my accent hasn't gone away. I know some of the students lately, the last few years, are from the city or Long Island, places like that. The BAP students. So I came up here to do graduate school, and I ended up getting an MA from BU. And then in 1998, I started teaching here on a regular basis. I'm a baby boomer. I was actually at Woodstock. And can prove it with a film clip. Doesn't get more boomer than that. And I live here. My daughter still lives here. My son is down in Queens. My ex-wife still lives here. I have lots of friends here. There's one thing about, I already had somebody this morning send me an email and say that they probably sent the original email to the wrong address. I have an email address that's a student email address that's floating around from a class I audited years ago. It has an ACAD extension in it. This is my email address right now. STCLAIRPA at SUNYBROOME.edu. If you use the other one with the ACAD in it, I think it's short for Academy, I don't know where to find it. I've never seen that account, so don't do that, okay? I know this is a required class for most people, and if it was a normal season, a normal semester, I would be going over the attendance and joking with you about what high school you went to and what the mascot was, and then I would ask, who loves history? And some people would raise their hands, and I'd say, who hates history, or for whom is history the worst subject? And I'd get a bunch of people that would answer that. And I'd ask why, and they'd say it's names and dates. And one of the chief things I want to do this semester is get you away from that idea that it's names and dates. It's this hugely complex thing we call society. And it's moving along, and people are making decisions, and changes are made, and changes come about. There are stresses. There are goals that are not met, and all this. It's a very complicated business history because it includes everything. And I think that's much more important than the names and the dates. And we all have a device that can tell us the name and the date of almost anything, so we don't have to worry about that. I had hoped to retire without ever having to do online courses. Nah. Things change. What is it? You want to make God laugh, you make plans, So we're in this quarantine thing, and I'm doing distance learning, and I've struggled all summer to learn what I need to learn. And I've had to change. I've changed the course because it's not the same, all right? And I know some of you are having to change, and that's all right. Change can be good. I did change the whole textbook for the 117 classes. I haven't changed it for 131, okay? But that's the things we want to deal with, 131 starts with Reconstruction. It's a whole thing of what is the status of African Americans, these freed slaves, these ex-slaves. You go through, World War I. Why was the United States even involved in World War I? Who knows? The Civil Rights Movement, the Depression. What causes a depression? It would help to know what year it happened, but you could look that up. All right. As far as grading goes, I don't know if any of you have looked at ratemyprofessor.com, my page on there. It's kind of amusing because it's like I'm either awesome or awful. And I don't know what exactly the difference is. I kind of think, my old boss used to say, it ain't the gun, it's the gunner. And I think that's true in this case. But anyway, there are grades, that's the game, I always found in my career as a student that if I worried less about the grade and more about the actual thing that they were trying to teach me, the grade would take care of itself. Okay? You can't say, how am I going to get that grade? Just learn the stuff, learn the material. Be able to intelligently discuss the Spanish-American War. I don't know. I was just on Facebook, and there's a guy who's a relative of a close friend of mine, and he was asking me. He was talking about racism and prejudice and this, that, and the other thing, and he asked me if in 1,000 years will the U.S. still be racist because we had slavery in the past? That's not a historical question. 1,000 years is way too far to be projecting. Who knows what's going to happen? So anyway, the papers, there's 3 papers. In the U.S. class, I've decided they're going to be on Reconstruction, on the Great Depression, and on the Civil Rights Movement and Black Power in the 60s. In the World History class, I believe they're going to be on, there's primary documents in 3 different sections. a choice of them. And I think 3 papers are going to be on those primary documents. I had these artifact assignments where I asked you to look at a painting or a song or a poem or a photograph, maybe compare it to another photograph, that kind of thing. And just, these are things that historians do. They take a picture, maybe it's a painting, and try to get behind what's going on there. Okay. Now you have to keep in mind that a painting is better than Photoshop. It's not real. It hasn't necessarily happened that way. All right. There's a classic example of a painting of Teddy Roosevelt going up San Juan Hill, and he's in the front of the troops with his glasses and his sword. He's on a horse. Probably helped him get chosen as the vice president. And then when McKinley gets shot, he becomes the president. And I don't know if that picture ever happened in reality. It's up for grabs. There are also, there are going to be discussions. I don't know if any of you are familiar with the way discussion boards work, discussion forums work. And you'll be graded on those, okay? And I set up one. There's sort of an icebreaker one already set up in the U.S. history class, and later today I'll get it set up for 117. Basically, asks a few questions about your, you, and asks you to comment on 2 other students' things. That won't be graded. Okay, there's no way to grade that. And if you don't want to tell me what high school you went to for some reason, tell me just where you came from. Where Babylon, Long Island, Albany, Binghamton, Endicott. That'll be great. Now let me give you a strategy for doing well in this course. Okay. It's not hard to do well in this course. I kind of realize most of you are not going to be historians. So, why put like a barrier in front of you? Okay? But here's the thing. When my daughter went off to SUNY Oswego in 2014, I told her my 3 rules for succeeding in college. And number 1 was always go to class, which is a moot point here, okay? But whether you felt like it or you didn't feel like it, go to class. Yeah. And then sit up front. Now, not everybody can sit up front, but I told her to sit up front, okay? And then, and this is key, I said, ask questions even if you know the answer, all right? Because that's what will stick out in a professor's mind. If you ask a question, it's not they say there's no stupid questions, but I'm not sure that's true. A student a couple of years ago asked me, what do you think of the theory that the government is burying dinosaur fossils? And I was like, I don't think much of it. Why would they do that? Where would they get the dinosaur fossils from? That was a stupid question, I thought. But anyway, an interesting question is an interesting question. It allows the professor he knows, 1, that you've been thinking about the material, even if you haven't read about it, you've been listening to the lecture or something. You got the situation under control enough that you can ask a question about it, okay? And then I had a student a few years ago, I just recently recalled this because he's a friend of my son's, and I saw him again, and we were talking about in the U.S. history class about strikes and the labor movement in the late 19th century, and he asked, why didn't the owners of the factories just negotiate with the unions, deal with the unions, accept the unions? And it's a great question because that's what they actually did beginning in the 50s. But they weren't about to do it in the 1890s, and we kicked it around, and it leads you in different paths. So ask questions, even if you know the answer. And the other thing is, I know most of you are not interested in history. I know from my experiences here that stuff that happened before 1990 is very often a blur, a big cloud of things. Jesus and Napoleon float around together. We don't really know how to separate them and put them in a timeline. But if you pretend that you're interested, just sort of, all right, I have to take this course. It's from now until December, 21st. I'll become a history geek for a while, And then next year, next semester will be some other kind of geekery. I had to do that, and, I like history, so it wasn't the history classes I had to pretend to be interested in. But like Brooklyn College had a 2-credit geology course. I got into rocks, 2-credit, there was a biology course I had to take, 2 credits. All right, I'll pretend to be a biologist. And that's how it went. If you sort of get some, like a small level of interest, I don't know what you guys are interested in outside of school and work, but if you even had like half of that interest invested in a course, you'll do great. You'll do fine. And a lot of people think history is irrelevant. What happened in the past happened in the past. It's like this guy with the 1,000-year question was asking basically, what he was asking is, when do the effects of slavery cease? And it's not a question I can answer. They haven't ceased yet. It's pretty clear to a lot of us that, slavery leaks into Jim Crow and segregation, and then the effects of that are still in effect. It's really only 1965 that black people in Mississippi were allowed to vote, basically. And that is, what is that, 40, it's like 60-something years ago. I lived through that. I lived through the Voting Rights Act in 1965. I lived through I wasn't paying attention to it, but I lived through it. And so, that's 100 years after the 13th Amendment, and you still have black people in Mississippi who are sort of prohibited from voting in various ways, So how long are the stuff that's in the past is us, is in our future, is in our present, actually, okay? I think that's enough for now. It's almost 20 minutes. That's a lot. I didn't expect to speak for 20 minutes. I will try to, it would be nice to have like a zoomy kind of thing, right? And if you have any questions, send me an email. And I'm going to do another 2 videos for the U.S. course and for the 117, the World History course, a little bit later. And that'll be more subject specific, okay? All right, I hope you're having a good day. I hope your first day is good. Mine is, I dug out a collared shirt. Summer's over, I guess. Tomorrow's your birthday. Tomorrow's my birthday. And you don't have to get me anything. Just pretend to like history.